The galaxy never expected the humans to do something like this. They knew humans were strange, creative, unpredictable, and sometimes a little dangerous. But no species in the universe ever imagined that a human would one day look at a honey badger, one of Earth's wildest creatures, and decide it needed an upgrade. And the story of how it happened began far away from Earth, on a cold metal outpost floating in deep space. The outpost was small, lonely, and usually very quiet. Only a few humans lived there, along with some robots and drones that worked all day. Among the humans was a young engineer named Marcus Hale. He had sharp eyes, a tired face, and hands that always smelled of machine oil. Marcus liked two things more than anything else in the universe: building things and solving problems. But there was one problem he could not solve easily: boredom. The outpost rarely saw action. No battles, no emergencies, no visitors. Most days were long, dull, and empty. Marcus had upgraded the drones 5 times already, repaired every machine, and created new tools that nobody asked for. He needed something new to work on, something strange enough to keep his mind awake. And then the supply ship arrived. Inside the crates were food, batteries, spare parts, and one small metal cage. The cage shook violently, and inside it was a honey badger from Earth, angry, fierce, and snapping at anyone who came close. It had been captured by mistake during a wildlife relocation program and somehow ended up on the wrong ship. The officer in charge wanted to send it back, but the shipping schedule was full for the next 4 months. So the honey badger stayed. Nobody wanted to take responsibility for the creature. It growled, bit, and destroyed anything left near it. But Marcus did not fear it. He found it funny. He watched it break out of a box using only its claws. He saw it push a robot over for no reason. He even noticed that it attacked a steel panel because it did not like the way it looked. Where other humans saw danger, Marcus saw potential. The honey badger had no fear, no hesitation, no doubt. Marcus thought it was perfect. He visited the creature every day, watching it with curiosity. It growled and tried to bite him, but Marcus never stepped away. Instead, he fed it, talked to it, and slowly earned a little trust. Over time, the honey badger stopped attacking him. It still tried to attack everyone else, but not Marcus. To him, this was already progress. One night, while the rest of the outpost slept, Marcus stood in his workshop. He stared at the tools, wires, chips, metal frames, and glowing blue energy cores. He looked at the small cage where the honey badger slept, snoring loudly like a tiny monster. And then an idea formed in his mind. He told himself it was stupid. He told himself it was dangerous. He told himself no one would approve. But he also told himself he was bored. Marcus opened his toolbox, took a deep breath, and smiled. The next day, he brought the honey badger into the workshop. It growled at him but did not bite. Marcus placed small scanners around it and gently measured the creature's body size, bone strength, and movement speed. Each measurement surprised him. The honey badger was stronger than it looked, faster than it looked, tougher than it looked. Its body could survive things that would kill other animals on Earth. He whispered to himself, "If nature made something this tough, imagine what I can do with a little help." For weeks, Marcus worked endlessly. He designed light armor plates shaped to fit the honey badger's body. He created tiny servo engines that moved with the creature's muscles. He built protective layers strong enough to resist plasma burns, yet light enough for the honey badger to run and fight. He added small connectors that allowed the creature to activate certain functions by its natural movements. Other humans noticed something strange in the workshop. They heard loud noises, metal cutting, sparks flying, and sometimes the honey badger screaming in excitement. They asked Marcus what he was doing, but he always said, "Just a project." One engineer warned him that taming a honey badger was impossible. Marcus agreed. That was why he was not trying to tame it, he was trying to work with it. And somehow the honey badger understood. It allowed Marcus to place the armor around its shoulders. It tolerated the scanners. It accepted the food he gave it. It reacted to the new tools with curiosity, not fear. It was as if the creature knew it was becoming stronger. One evening, Marcus activated the full test cycle. The honey badger stood on a metal floor while the armor lit up with faint blue lines. Its eyes glowed in reflection of the lights. Marcus watched the readings on his screen, heart rate steady, muscle response strong, energy flow stable. The honey badger took one slow step. The armor moved perfectly with it. Then it took another step and the servos hummed softly. It looked at Marcus, its glowing eyes sharp and hungry. Marcus whispered, "You're ready." The test continued. Marcus turned on the movement boosters, and the honey badger suddenly jumped higher than any normal animal its size could. It crashed into a metal crate, breaking it in one strike. Marcus laughed loudly, almost like a proud parent watching a child grow. But something else happened, too. The honey badger looked around the room, sniffed the air, and then slowly turned to face the outpost window where stars shined brightly in the dark sky. Marcus felt a strange chill. For the first time, he saw something new in the creature's eyes, not just instinct, not just aggression. There was awareness, as if the honey badger understood it had become more than what it was. And then came the first sign of trouble. A faint alarm beeped on Marcus's console. A small red light flashed. It showed an unknown ship approaching the outpost at high speed. The signal was coded in a language he did not recognize. Marcus frowned, tapping the screen. The ship's energy signature was unlike anything he had seen in the region before. The outpost speakers crackled. A voice from the control room shouted his name, telling him to report immediately. Marcus grabbed his coat, turned to look at the honey badger one last time, and whispered, "Stay here." But the honey badger did not stay. The moment Marcus left the workshop, the creature followed, wearing its new armor, silent like a machine and deadly like a beast. And far above them, the unknown ship moved closer, bringing danger neither Marcus nor the galaxy was ready for. Marcus hurried through the long metal hallway toward the control room. The red lights along the ceiling blinked again and again, each flash showing his worried face. He had seen many strange ships before, but none had carried a signal like this. The outpost was small, unimportant, and usually ignored. So why would someone approach it fast, silent, and unannounced? That question stayed heavy in his mind. When he entered the control room, 3 officers were already looking at the main screen. A single dark ship was moving closer, shaped like a long spear with glowing red lines along its sides. It looked nothing like human ships. It looked aggressive. The officer in charge pointed at Marcus. "We are trying to hail them," she said, her voice tense. "They are not responding, no identification, no broadcast, no translation request." Marcus stared at the screen. "How long until they reach docking range?" 4 minutes. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. He had a feeling this was not a friendly visit. Before he could say anything, a loud crash echoed behind him. He turned quickly. Standing at the door was the armored honey badger. It looked almost like a small warrior wearing glowing plates and thin mechanical joints. Its blue eyes scanned the room calmly, as if taking in every detail. One of the officers shouted, "Why is that thing out of containment?" Marcus raised a hand. "It's with me." "That's not comforting," someone muttered, but Marcus ignored them. He saw the honey badger lower its head slightly, listening to the buzzing alarms and humming screens. Its claws tapped against the metal floor. The creature sensed danger, maybe even before the humans did. The ship outside slowed down and drifted into position near the docking ring. A heavy silence filled the room. Then the ship sent a single signal, not a request, a command. Every screen in the control room turned black for 1 second, then showed glowing alien text none of the humans could decode. The outpost systems began glitching. The lights flickered. The air filters paused for a moment. A static hum rolled across the floor. The officer in charge hit the emergency lockdown. "Unknown ship is hacking our systems. Shut everything down." Marcus watched the chaos rise around him. Panels sparked. A drone dropped from the ceiling. The entire outpost shook as if hit by an invisible wave of pressure. Then the alien ship sent one more command. The docking ring began to open automatically. Marcus felt cold fear creep up his spine. They're forcing their way in. Before anyone could react, the docking lights flashed from red to white, and the inner metal door shook violently as something hit it from the other side. The honey badger stepped forward. The officers stepped back. The creature growled softly, its armor glowing brighter. Marcus gently placed one hand on its back. The metal plates were warm and alive with energy. A second hit struck the docking door, then a third. A crack formed, and then the door exploded inward. Shards of steel flew across the room. Smoke poured into the hallway. From behind the broken door came tall figures with armor made of dark metallic scales. They carried long weapons glowing with red energy. Their movements were smooth, silent, and precise. Nobody had seen aliens like this before. No warning, no diplomacy, just an attack. One soldier pointed a weapon at the nearest officer. Marcus shouted, "Get down." A red beam blasted across the room, burning a hole in the wall. The officers fell to the floor, scrambling behind the consoles, but something else moved faster. The honey badger. It launched forward like a missile. Its claws smashed into the alien soldier's weapon, breaking it in half. Before the alien could react, the honey badger slammed its armored shoulder into the creature's leg, knocking it off balance. Another alien aimed a red beam at the creature, but the honey badger twisted, ran up the wall, jumped sideways, and crashed into the alien's helmet with a loud metallic crunch. Everyone in the room froze in shock. Marcus had always known the creature was strong, but with the upgrades, it moved like a living weapon. The aliens regrouped and aimed their weapons again. Red lights blinked along their barrels. The honey badger stood firm, armor glowing. Marcus felt adrenaline shoot through his body. He grabbed a dropped human stun gun and fired at one of the aliens. The shot hit the creature's shoulder. It did not fall, but it staggered. The honey badger took the chance. It leaped, claws extended, striking again and again. Sparks flew. Metal cracked. The noise was violent and raw, echoing through the control room like the cry of a wild storm. The officer in charge stood up. "We need to seal the docking bay, now." Marcus shouted back, "We can't. They hacked the system." Another alien soldier stepped through the smoke. This one was larger, with heavier armor and twin energy blades. It saw the honey badger and made a strange clicking sound, almost like laughter. The honey badger growled back. They charged each other. The large alien swung its blades in smooth arcs. The honey badger dodged one, then the second, but a third strike grazed its armor, sending sparks into the air. Marcus felt a stab of fear. "No, no, no, stay sharp." The honey badger responded with a furious roar and lunged directly at the alien's chest. The impact shook the floor. The alien fell backward, but caught the creature and held it, struggling to pin it down. Marcus fired again at the alien, hitting the joint in its armor. The alien roared and dropped its grip. The honey badger tore into it with claws and teeth, armor glowing brighter with each strike. When the alien finally stopped moving, the room fell silent except for the crackling sparks and heavy breathing. The officers looked at Marcus with wide, shocked eyes. One whispered, "What did you build?" Marcus didn't answer. He looked down at the honey badger. The creature stood still, chest rising and falling, eyes bright and alert. It looked stronger than ever. Then the outpost alarm changed tone. A deeper sound, a worse sound. The translation system finally cracked part of the alien signal. It showed one word on the screen: scouting vessel. Marcus swallowed hard. If this was only a scout. More were coming. The message on the screen kept flashing in bright red. The word felt heavy, almost unreal. A scouting vessel meant the aliens were not done. They were only testing the outpost. The real threat was still approaching. Marcus stared at the screen for several seconds, trying to breathe through the rising fear. The officers around him spoke quickly, trying to restore systems, but parts of the outpost remained dark and offline. The honey badger walked in slow circles, sniffing the floor where the aliens had fallen. Its armor glowed like hot metal cooling after a storm. Marcus knelt beside the creature and checked its plates. A few scratches, one dent, but nothing serious. The creature looked up at him and snorted, as if annoyed the fight was already over. Marcus whispered, "I know, but this was just the beginning." The officer in charge turned to him. "We need to warn nearby stations. If a larger force is coming, we must prepare." She tried to send a distress call, but the system only produced static. The alien hack had damaged more communication lines than they expected. Another officer cursed quietly while pulling open a panel to rewire the circuits. Marcus knew one thing: they didn't have long. He moved to a side console and opened the outpost's external cameras. Far away, a dark shape appeared on the horizon of space. It was massive, far bigger than the scouting ship that attacked them. Slowly, it drifted closer, blocking stars as it moved. Marcus pointed at the screen. That's the real ship." The officer in charge stared in disbelief. "It's enormous." Another officer stepped closer, shaking his head. "We cannot fight something like that." Marcus looked at the honey badger. He knew even with its upgraded armor, this would be different. The next wave would be stronger. More soldiers, heavier weapons, and smarter tactics. The honey badger alone could not defend the entire station, unless he made changes. Marcus's mind began spinning fast. Ideas formed, collided, and sharpened. He looked around the damaged control room. Tools were scattered. Sparks fell from a torn wire, screens flickered. But there were still supplies, spare parts in storage, energy cores, and machines he could reprogram. He touched the honey badger's side. The creature growled softly, but not in anger. It almost sounded like readiness. Marcus said quietly, "I need to upgrade you again." The officers turned to him at once. "You are insane," one said. You barely survived the first attack, another added. Marcus ignored them. We have no choice. That big ship won't stop. They will take the outpost, the data, everything. We need something they cannot predict. The officer in charge slowly nodded. What do you need? Marcus didn't hesitate. Time and full access to the engineering deck. You have both, she replied. Go. Marcus ran toward the workshop, and the honey badger followed close behind. As they moved through the hallways, Marcus noticed the creature walked differently. More confident, more controlled. It didn't just attack wildly anymore, it acted like it understood the situation. When they reached the workshop, Marcus closed the heavy door behind them and locked it. The room smelled of metal, oil, and dust. Tools lay in piles where he left them earlier. He turned on the lights and activated the work tables. The honey badger sat in the middle of the room, watching him. Marcus grabbed new armor plates, stronger alloys, and a larger energy core he hadn't used before. He opened the honey badger's shoulder plate carefully. The creature didn't resist at all. It seemed to trust him completely. You're not just an animal anymore, Marcus whispered. You're something new. He replaced the old servo motors with faster ones. He tightened the armor joints, making them stronger but lighter. He added a shock absorption layer under the chest plate to protect the honey badger from energy blasts. Then he installed a small mount on the back, designed to hold a detachable shield that could expand into a hard light barrier. Every piece seemed to fit perfectly, as if the creature had been waiting for this next stage. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The alarms outside kept sounding. The large alien ship moved closer. Marcus didn't stop for a second. Sweat covered his forehead. His fingers shook with exhaustion, but he continued. When he placed the final piece of armor on the honey badger's head, the creature let out a deep growl, not of anger, but of power. The new armor glowed brighter than before. The lines of blue light ran smoothly around its body like living veins. Marcus stepped back. You look incredible. The honey badger rose to its feet, testing the new modifications. It moved its shoulders, stretched its claws, and gently slammed its armor into a metal crate. The crate broke instantly. Marcus smiled. Perfect. Suddenly, a loud impact shook the entire outpost. Tools fell from the shelves. The floor vibrated. The honey badger snapped its head toward the door. Marcus checked the camera feed. The large alien ship had begun docking. Soldiers poured out, hundreds of them. Their armor was heavier, their weapons bigger, their movements more organized. Red energy beams cut through hallways. Human officers tried to fight but were pushed back. Marcus felt fear rising again. Even with the upgrades, he wasn't sure the honey badger could handle such a large force. But then he remembered something important. This creature had never once backed down. Not on Earth. Not here. Not ever. Marcus unlocked the workshop door. Let's go. The honey badger sprinted out like a small storm of metal and fury. Marcus followed behind with a stun rifle. They reached the central hallway, where alien soldiers marched forward in formation. Before Marcus could aim, the honey badger charged. Its new armor activated instantly. The hard light shield expanded from its back, glowing like a bright blue wing. The first energy blast struck the shield and bounced away. The honey badger leaped onto a wall, ran sideways, then launched itself into the front line of aliens. The impact threw 3 soldiers backward. Marcus fired at the ones behind them. The aliens returned fire, but the honey badger moved like lightning. It tore through their armor, dodging beams, knocking down weapons, and breaking their formation. For a moment, Marcus felt hope. Then the lights dimmed. A shadow fell over the hallway. The largest alien soldier they had seen yet stepped forward, almost twice the size of the others, carrying a massive energy hammer that glowed deep red. Its armor looked impossible to break. Marcus whispered, "Oh no." The creature raised the hammer. The honey badger growled and stepped forward, and the battle for the outpost began again. The huge alien soldier stepped into the hallway like a living wall of metal. Its armor was dark and thick, glowing with deep red lines pulsing like veins. The energy hammer it carried made a low humming sound that vibrated through the air. Every human on the outpost froze. Even the smaller alien soldiers stepped aside, giving the giant room to move. Marcus felt his heart hammering in his chest. He had never seen anything so intimidating. The honey badger looked tiny compared to the giant alien, but it did not show fear. Its new armor glowed bright blue, and its claws scraped the metal floor as it lowered its body for attack. The giant alien lifted the hammer. The red glow intensified and sparks flew from the weapon. It took one heavy step forward. The entire hallway shook. Marcus whispered, "Please be careful." The honey badger didn't wait. It charged. The alien swung the hammer in a wide arc. The honey badger jumped at the last second, landing on the wall and running sideways. The hammer smashed into the floor, sending a shockwave across the hallway. Marcus lost his balance and hit the wall behind him. His ears rang from the impact. The honey badger leaped from the wall and aimed for the alien's chest, but the giant soldier moved faster than expected. It raised its arm and blocked the attack. The honey badger's claws scraped loudly against thick armor but did not break through. The alien grabbed the honey badger with its massive hand and threw it down the hallway. The creature slid across the floor, sparks flying from its armor. "No!" Marcus shouted and ran forward, but the honey badger was already standing again. It shook its head like a beast preparing for another strike. The giant alien soldier slammed the hammer against its own chest, making a deep metallic echo like a challenge. The honey badger responded with a sharp growl that echoed even louder. They rushed toward each other again. This time the honey badger used its hard light shield first. The blue barrier expanded just as the alien swung the hammer downward. The hammer struck the shield, creating a blinding flash of light. The impact forced the honey badger to slide backward, claws digging into the ground to stay upright. The shield flickered from the force but remained active. Marcus saw an opening. He raised his stun rifle and fired at the alien's knee joint. The shot didn't damage it, but it made the alien shift its balance. The honey badger reacted instantly, moving with lightning speed to attack the weakened spot. It jumped and slashed at the joint. The armor cracked slightly. The alien roared, a low guttural sound that shook the hallway. It swung wildly, trying to hit the honey badger, but the creature dodged again and again. Its new servos gave it incredible speed, and every movement was precise. Marcus stepped back and fired again at another joint. The alien staggered for one moment. The honey badger didn't waste it. It leaped onto the alien's arm, climbed up with rapid strikes, and reached the shoulder. It bit down hard on a glowing red power line running across the armor. Sparks burst out in all directions. The alien stumbled backward, hitting the wall with a loud crash. The smaller alien soldiers rushed forward, trying to help their commander. Marcus fired wildly to keep them back, forcing them to take cover behind broken panels. The giant alien grabbed the honey badger and tried to tear it off, but the creature held on, claws locked deep into damaged metal. Its armor glowed. The hallway lights flickered as the next wave of alien soldiers entered the outpost. Their armor glowed with sharp red lines, brighter than the previous group. Their weapons hummed with a stronger energy pulse. These were not scouts or regular fighters. They were elite troops trained for invasion and destruction. Marcus could tell by the way they moved, fast, silent, and perfectly coordinated. The honey badger stood at the front, its glowing armor casting blue reflections on the metal walls. It lowered its body, ready to strike. Marcus raised his stun rifle, his hands shaking but steady enough to fight. Behind them, the remaining human officers watched with fear in their eyes, but also with something new hope. The first elite soldier charged. The honey badger met it halfway. Their armor clashed with a loud metallic crack. Sparks shot across the hallway. The elite soldier swung its weapon downward, but the honey badger blocked it with its shield. The impact shook the creature, but it did not fall back. Instead, it twisted and slashed the soldier's side, cutting through softer parts of its armor. The soldier stumbled. Marcus shot it in the leg joint, and the honey badger finished it with a powerful strike to the chest. The soldier crashed to the floor, but more were coming. The hallway filled with red beams and the sound of heavy boots hitting the ground. The aliens moved in two lines, firing in controlled rhythm and advancing step by step. Marcus shouted at the officers to take cover. The honey badger rushed left, bouncing between the walls with incredible speed, dodging every shot aimed at it. It jumped into the center of the alien line, landing hard enough to shake the floor. The elites tried to grab it, but the honey badger tore through them like a force of nature. Its claws ripped weapons apart. Its shield smashed into helmets. Its speed made it almost impossible to follow. Marcus fired again and again, hitting weak points when the honey badger pushed enemies off balance. Together, they created chaos in the alien ranks. But even with their combined strength, the aliens kept coming. Marcus felt sweat run down his face. His rifle battery flashed yellow. He had only a few shots left. The humans around him were running low on ammo too. The honey badger was strong, but its armor plates were starting to crack. Small sparks flickered from its shoulder. It was taking hits faster than Marcus could support it. And then a new sound filled the hallway, a deep mechanical thud, then another, then another. Marcus looked toward the far end of the corridor. His stomach dropped. 4 massive alien machines stepped through the smoke, walking suits of heavy armor, each one twice the size of the giant soldier the honey badger had defeated earlier. Their arms carried thick cannons glowing with red energy. Their legs were reinforced with plates that looked almost impossible to break. Their heads had no faces, only single red lights that scanned the area. They were war mechs. The elite soldiers stepped aside, letting the machines form the front line. One mech lifted its cannon. Marcus shouted, "Get down!" A massive beam of red energy cut through the hallway. It hit a metal wall, melting through it in seconds. The humans dove behind cover. The honey badger rolled aside, the beam missing it by inches. Marcus knew the creature couldn't take a direct hit from something that strong. One mech stomped forward. The honey badger charged it. It jumped onto the mech's leg, tearing at the armor. But the mech grabbed the creature with its giant hand and threw it across the hallway. The honey badger slammed into a wall, leaving a dent. Marcus ran toward it, heart pounding. "Get up. Come on, please get up." The honey badger shook its head, dizzy but alive. Its armor flickered weakly. The shield generator on its back sparked. It tried to stand again, but its movements were slower. A second mech aimed its cannon at the creature. Marcus grabbed a metal pipe from the floor and threw it as hard as he could. It bounced off the mech harmlessly, but it turned its attention toward him. The large cannon glow intensified. A direct hit would vaporize him. The honey badger saw the danger. It forced itself to move. Even injured, even weakened, it ran with all the strength it had left. It jumped in front of Marcus just as the mech fired. The beam struck the honey badger's shield. The impact was so strong that the creature slid backward, digging its claws into the floor to stay grounded. The shield flickered wildly, its blue light shaking like a flame in a storm. Marcus screamed, "Hold on." The honey badger growled loudly, pushing against the beam with its entire body. For a moment it seemed like the shield would break. The blue glow dimmed, then brightened again. The creature roared and took one slow step forward, fighting the full force of the mech's energy cannon. The beam finally stopped. Smoke rose from the honey badger's armor. The shield generator sparked and fell silent. The creature was breathing hard, its body trembling, but it was still alive. Marcus felt tears in his eyes. "You're unbelievable." The mechs prepared to fire again. The officer in charge shouted from behind a broken console. "If those machines reach the reactor room, they will destroy the entire station." Marcus realized she was right. If the mechs pushed further, everything would be lost. They needed something powerful enough to stop them. He looked around desperately, and then he saw it. A large energy core storage unit behind a broken wall panel. It held high-output cores used for powering big machinery. The cores were unstable if overloaded. Marcus had an idea, a crazy idea. He turned to the honey badger. "I need you to trust me one more time." The creature growled softly. Marcus grabbed the largest energy core he could lift and connected its activation wires. The core began humming loudly, glowing bright blue. He strapped it onto the honey badger's back, right behind the damaged shield generator. The honey badger stood still, letting him attach it. Marcus whispered, "This will give you more power for a short time, but only for a short time." The mechs charged their cannons. Marcus stepped back as the honey badger rose again, armor glowing brighter and brighter as the energy core activated. Then the creature roared with a sound that echoed through the entire outpost. It charged directly at the mechs, and the final battle truly began. The honey badger charged forward with the glowing energy core strapped to its back, its armor brighter than ever before. Blue light ran through every plate, pulsing like a heartbeat. The alien mechs aimed their cannons, but the creature moved so fast that the beams missed and exploded against the walls. The hallway shook with each blast. Marcus watched with wide eyes, hardly able to believe what he was seeing. The honey badger, small compared to the towering machines, looked like a falling star cutting through the darkness. The first mech swung its heavy arm, trying to hit the creature. But the honey badger jumped, boosted by the energy core. It soared higher than it ever had before and landed on the mech's shoulder. Its claws glowed blue from the raw power running through its suit. It struck once, twice, 3 times, each hit sending sparks flying. The armor cracked under the force. One final strike broke the mech's shoulder plate completely. The mech staggered, its cannon lost aim, firing into the ceiling. Alarms screamed as pipes burst and smoke filled the upper levels. The honey badger jumped again, landing on the mech's chest. It drove its claws deep into the glowing red power core inside the machine. A bright flash filled the hallway as the mech collapsed to the ground with a heavy crash. The other 3 mechs charged at once. Marcus fired his stun rifle, though he knew it wouldn't stop them. Human officers threw grenades, but the mech's armor was too thick. The honey badger stood alone against them, energy core pulsing brighter, the lights on its armor shaking from the overload. The second mech fired its cannon. The honey badger dodged, but the beam grazed its back, making the energy core flare dangerously. Marcus shouted, "Careful, it can't take too much energy." But the honey badger didn't stop. It slid under the mech's legs and slashed its joints, causing sparks and small explosions. The mech turned, trying to crush the creature, but the honey badger leaped aside and climbed onto its arm. It tore into the wiring, pulling out glowing red cables. The mech's arm went limp. The creature struck again and again until the mech fell to its knees, then toppled over completely. The third mech swung its large fist at the honey badger. The creature used its shield to block. The impact shook the hallway, but the shield held for a moment. Then it cracked. Blue shards of hard light scattered into the air. The honey badger stumbled backward. The shield generator was destroyed completely. Marcus's heart jumped. Without the shield, the creature was exposed. The mech charged. The honey badger set its feet and roared, but the roar sounded tired now. The overload on the energy core was pushing the creature to its limits. Marcus ran forward, firing wildly at the mech, shouting for it to stop. The mech didn't even notice him. The honey badger leaped again, but slower this time. The mech swung its heavy arm and struck the creature in midair. The honey badger was thrown across the hallway, slamming into a broken wall. Its armor flickered and the lights dimmed. Marcus cried out, get up, please." The honey badger pushed itself onto its claws, but its legs shook. It took one deep breath, and the energy core glowed hotter, brighter, almost white. Marcus suddenly understood. The core was close to exploding. It held too much power for too long, but the honey badger didn't care. It charged again. The third mech fired a blast. The honey badger ducked and rolled, then jumped onto the mech's chest. It clawed deep into the armor, ripping plates apart. The mech struggled, grabbing the creature's tail, trying to pull it off. The honey badger didn't let go. It struck again and again until its claws reached the mech's core. One final strike broke through. The mech collapsed. Only one mech remained. It stood at the far end of the hallway, watching. It raised both cannons at once, energy building in their barrels. The air felt thick and hot. Marcus knew this shot would destroy anything it hit. He tried to run forward, but debris blocked his path. The honey badger stood up straight. Its armor was cracked. Its lights flickered. Smoke rose from the energy core. But the creature looked ready. It let out one final powerful roar and charged directly at the last mech. The mech fired both cannons. Red beams shot across the hallway like twin suns. The honey badger ran through the light. Its armor burned, its shield gone, its claws glowing white, the energy core overloaded, and then a blinding explosion filled the hallway. Marcus shielded his eyes and fell to the ground as the shockwave hit him. Metal screamed. The walls shook. The lights flickered out completely. Everything went silent except for a low hum. When the smoke finally cleared, Marcus stood slowly. The last mech was destroyed completely, its body melted and broken apart. The hallway was covered in melted metal. The humans stood in stunned silence. Marcus looked around desperately. Then he saw it. The honey badger lay on the floor, its armor cracked open, smoke rising from the broken core. It wasn't moving. Marcus ran to it. He fell to his knees and placed a trembling hand on the creature. "No, please, no." For a long moment there was nothing. Then the honey badger opened one eye. Marcus gasped. "You're alive." The creature barely moved, too tired to stand. But it gave a soft growl like a small victory sound. Marcus laughed, tears in his eyes. "You crazy, amazing creature." The officer in charge approached slowly. "The alien ship is pulling back. They're retreating." The humans watched through the shattered window as the massive alien vessel turned away and vanished into the darkness of space. The outpost was damaged. Many systems were broken. The halls were filled with smoke and debris, but they were alive, thanks to the smallest warrior among them. Marcus sat beside the honey badger as engineers rushed to repair the outpost. He placed a hand gently on the creature's head.